So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this EURASHE webinar on developing European research support strategies. In case you don't know me, I'm the new Secretary General of EURASHE, taking over from Michael Kartyszek on the 1st of November. I'd like to thank Michael and our member, Fulda University of Applied Sciences, who together with Maite, our EURASHE Communications and Events Officer, have done a great job in organising today's event. The webinar today is intended to help design the EURASHE community of practice on applied research that will be formally launched next spring in Fulda. We hope that this will be on the 8th of April, but of course these days it is difficult to predict what will happen next week, never mind next year. So a disclaimer about announcing the date already is that things could change depending on Omicron and other developments. However, it will be launched sometime in spring, along with our other community of practice on quality assurance in education. And a launch event for that one is being planned with the Haute École Elenor and ARES, which we hope can take place in Namur on the 11th of March. So the EURASHE research community of practice is being designed as a platform for practitioners and leaders from PhD institutions in charge of internationalization of research and innovation. It will provide a space for mutual learning and an exchange of views and experiences on the specific research profile of PhD institutions, especially universities of applied science. The aim also is to build capacity across the EURASHE membership, helping institutions to strengthen the capabilities of their research and managerial staff, which in turn, we hope will boost the participation in European research projects. This type of capacity building is also part of the RECAFE Erasmus Plus project, in which EURASHE is a partner, and which is led by our member, Baden-Württemberg Cooperation State University. Finally, the community of practice will build on concrete cases of projects or individual institutions, which will provide inspiration and points for discussion and learning. The methods used in our community of practice will be very participatory, breaking into small groups to tackle different issues. And in that sense, it will be different from today's webinar, which is more information and speakers. And we do have many interesting speakers this afternoon, so I don't want to say too much. However, I would like to set the scene with 3 points, which may be regarded as opinions or provocations to some extent. Firstly, research and innovation activities have gained increasing importance in the professional higher education sector, especially universities of applied science. Emerging societal challenge from climate, public health, and demographic trends show us that now more than ever, we need to develop institutional strategies, define priorities, and identify relevant partnerships. I would also add that policymakers are looking more from us, from our sector, in terms of research and innovation. Secondly, PhD institutions can provide a specific type of applied research and innovation to solve practical problems that traditional universities are less inclined to focus on. This may not be headline-grabbing Nobel Prize-winning research like the invention of graphene, but it does provide massive value to the economy, especially SMEs who are not used to working with universities. This type of research and innovation is also more likely to be place-based, contributing to the development of cities and regions in all parts of Europe. Therefore, supporting applied research and innovation is also an important means of regional development. And we have seen this from the EU with its smart specialization approach. Thirdly, and finally, we need to think carefully about the concept and meaning of research excellence. Of course, research must always be the highest quality, methodologically rigorous and original. However, being original can mean applying ideas to new subjects or places. basic research can be the basis for groundbreaking innovation, and we don't always understand its purpose. But for me, at least, research is not excellent unless it provides social and economic value, which underpins what I think should be the new EURASHE motto, namely that we must ask ourselves not just what we are good at, but what we are good for. Anyway, I've probably spoken for too long already, and I must also apologise because I must leave the webinar halfway through to catch a flight. However, our new shiny policy and project officer, Marta Rodrigues, will take over from me as moderator when I leave. Anyway, I'd like to introduce now our speakers. We have Stijn de Laude from DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission. Armando Pires is the EURASHE president. Thomas Berger from the Hesse Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and the Arts. And Hendro Prabowo, hope I said your name there right, Hendro, who is replacing Victoria Beinrot from UAS Fulda. So first of all, it's my pleasure to introduce Stijn de Laude, who works at the R&I Actors and Research Careers Unit at DG Research and Innovation. So I guess it's your job, Stijn, to help people like us, from the name of your unit anyway. Thank you so much for being with us, Stijn, today. I've had a peek at your presentation and see that you will tell us about the new European research area, synergies with education, which would have been another of my introductory points had I had time to speak for longer. And finally, the Horizon Europe programme. Stijn has to leave following his presentation, so I suggest that we have Q&A straight afterwards, leaving the rest of the discussion until after the other speakers. So if you would like to ask a question to Stijn, please put it in the chat. That's the best way, I think, because we're a lot of participants. I'm very impressed at how many people are in this webinar, and it'll be easier for me to moderate if you have a question in the chat. So Stijn, please, thanks for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Can you confirm you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, all right. I'll put it on slide mode. If it works. So you see the slide mode?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much, and John, and also Michael, if he's around, for inviting me, and Maite for organizing this. I'm delighted to be with you here today. So I warmly thank you for organizing this event and for inviting DGRTD to it. I was with EURASHE at an event in May on maximizing professional higher education sector's potential in the European research and education areas. And I actually build on the messages John just said already then, the importance of excellence, but you have to rightly define it. The important role of higher education institutions, professional higher education institutions and universities of applied science in local ecosystems, innovation ecosystems, and the importance of cooperation. And for all of these three aspects, I will explain you in my presentation the policy that the Commission will be implementing, as well as some funding opportunities that you may find useful. So I will cover basically three parts in my presentation. So the new European research area, indeed, the upcoming strategy for universities, which is a Commission communication about to be adopted in January, supporting universities of any kind. And then Horizon Europe, which contributes to realizing the European research area. And I will specifically highlight some funding opportunities that I think are very relevant for your community. So first part, improving the European R&I system, the European research area, the ever growing together area of research and innovation in Europe. As you know, it was launched 20 years ago, and since then it has contributed to significant progress, for instance, in areas as research infrastructures, open science, international cooperation, gender balance, joint programming in partnerships, as well as to the mobility of researchers. The priorities of the new era are to prioritize investments in research innovation by member states, boost market uptake of the research results, improve access to excellence, basically to close the innovation divide that is narrowing, but is still not gone. Strengthen the mobility of researchers internationally, but also intersectorally and interdisciplinary, as well as the free flow of knowledge. So last Friday, the Council adopted Council conclusions as well as Council recommendations on a pact for research and innovation in Europe. And the Council conclusions with explaining the governance, the new governance of how the new era will be handled. So this actually completes the picture of the new research area. With an introduction of a multi-level governance model, all the member states, with the Commission, with stakeholders, we will be able to deliver on the new European research area. And the Council conclusions and the pact provide very concrete actions that will help the member states and the Union to respond in a more efficient way to societal challenges. And under the new pact for research innovations, member states actually commit to set common EU principles and values, including academic freedom, institutional autonomy, the pursuit of excellence, shared priorities for action, more investments and reforms, as so far only about 5 countries have reached the 3% investment target in research and innovation, as well as a simplified coordination and monitoring process. Now, priority areas for joint action are deepening the internal market, taking up together the green and digital transitions and other challenges, the recovery from the pandemic that is still ongoing, amplifying access to research innovation excellence, and advancing the investments and reforms. Now, these priority areas are will be pursued through a list of actions, and these actions are called policy agenda. They are grouped in the policy agenda. This will be implemented on a voluntary basis by the member states together with the European Commission and the stakeholder organizations like yourselves. So as of Friday, last Friday, the member states are invited to identify the ERA action in which they wish to participate. They have to explain this by spring, and then the process starts to actually implementing these actions together with the member states that indicated their interest. And it's of course our hope that all, or at least most of these actions will get support from most of the member states. So here you see the list, part of the list, because in total there are 20 actions. So I highlight a few that link also to what John was saying in his introduction. The reform of the assessment system for research and researchers. This is of course about defining excellence, changing the system, which should support quality, impact, open science practices, open collaboration, knowledge sharing, societal engagement. And it should also allow for more diversity in careers, rewarding not only basic research, the excellence of research, but also other types of research, teaching, supervision, leadership, managerial, entrepreneurial achievements next to high quality of science. This should acknowledge a diverse landscape of higher education institutions as a true strength in Europe. The second action I would like to highlight is the promotion of attractive research careers through a toolbox of actions. We are developing a new legal framework. You may have heard of the Charter and Code for Researchers, which exists already for 15 years. It's time for an update. We are also finalizing a competence framework for researchers, which recognize the various competences and complementary skills researchers have to improve interoperability between jobs and better circulation of talents. We are also developing a monitoring mechanism for research careers, which will be comparing work conditions between countries, support reform in countries that need it to get a more balanced circulation of talents and avoid brain drain by systemic changes. Another action I would like to highlight, I see there is something wrong with the numbering, apologies. So the empowerment of universities in synergy with the European education area. And this will include support for consolidating the European Universities Initiative, and we'll also have a new initiative like excellence initiatives. I'll explain a bit more in the rest of the presentation. Finally, to build R&I ecosystems is another action that we hope many member states will be interested in. This includes the strengthening of the core role of research performing organizations, such as higher education institutions, in local innovation ecosystems. And as you know, and John, you said it in your introduction as well, vibrant ecosystems are essential conditions for economic growth and prosperity. With this action, and it's also called ERA hubs, we aim to maximize value from knowledge creation, circulation, and use by strengthening the place-based innovation, by strengthening territorial cohesion and regional development, by strengthening the role of the institutions at the core of ecosystems. We want to defining the success factors of successful innovation ecosystems and share these with other junior ecosystems or fill gaps where such ecosystems do not exist yet or need to grow. Finally, we will also aim at enhancing the strategic capacity of Europe's public research performing organizations. This is also called the Science Management Initiative, because strong research innovation performance often rely on strong communities of research managers. And this can take many shapes. It can be research policy officers, science managers, knowledge brokers, research infrastructure operators. And these communities we intend to extend these throughout the entire European research area. Now, okay, in general, about the policy agenda, by mid-2022, the European Commission will present a monitoring and evaluation framework for the implementation of the ERA. And this will review the implementation of the policy agenda every 18 months. So first, the member states commit to the actions as much as possible. And then this will be monitored through a monitoring system, just like the European semester or the ERA, the scoreboard in the past. Okay, let me go back to the action on synergies between research, innovation, and education, between the European research area and the European education area. DG EAC, together with us, the DG RTD, are on track to adopt the European strategy for universities, so Commission communication, which aims to support Europe's higher education sector. And this means reaching out to the more than 5,000 higher education institutions across Europe, all institutions, universities of any kind, in taking a leading role in the recovery from the pandemic, in making sure our society gets greener, more inclusive, and more digital. And in this exercise, all missions of universities, education, research, innovation, service to society are seen in a complementary way. We take a holistic approach in that respect. The strategy has been developed because we are finalizing it now together with the sector, and EURASHE has been involved many times, and as well as with member states. And it will be a vision on the future for the next decade or a couple of years. It will explain the needs of the sector. We got these based on a survey and consultation meetings, as well as the priority areas for transformation, areas that will be your choice. It will then propose a roadmap or a list of actions in support of the sector for all these challenges, to empower universities to do what you do best, training, educating people, transmitting talents to society, creating groundbreaking knowledge, and transferring knowledge to society and economy. It will engage member states in this as part of the policy agenda at the site of research innovation, and similar mirroring provisions at the site of the education area, and support national reforms. And key priority areas for the strategy are the higher education important role in Europe to support the European way of life, because the long tradition of mobility and cooperation, with a trifold focus on quality, inclusiveness, and respect for democratic practices, fundamental values such as academic freedom. And secondly, the higher education is a key actor of change, has always been. And now we need more change because of the twin green and digital transitions our societies face. So we need the sector to lead this transition. So we need new skills, digital green skills, or green tech solutions. And higher education sector requests support to pull its weight. And third, higher education in Europe is a driver of Europe's global role and leadership, by creation of new knowledge, by cooperating with other actors, and by helping in science diplomacy. Through deeper international cooperation within Europe, but also beyond, universities are getting more and more outward looking, more competitive on the global scene. So, and through sharing practices and resources between universities in these strengths, all institutions will benefit. Now, concretely, the strategy intends to support universities because they are instrumental in building a stronger Europe. Related to the transnational cooperation, now, deepening cooperation between universities in Europe has been realized, we think, through the European Universities Initiative, for instance, but also through, on other levels, through associations like EURASHE and others. But the deep cooperation that the European Universities Initiative realized has been started a couple of years ago with 41 interinstitutional alliances that are key actors for systemic, structural, and sustainable cooperation and global competitiveness. Now, through deep and geographically balanced, and as well as inclusive in terms of type of institutions cooperation, the European Universities Alliances are anticipated to raise excellence levels, attractiveness for talents, to create more critical mass together, pursuing better capability to address societal challenges. And therefore, the alliances are an important test bed for the development of models and practices of institutional change that I just explained in the European strategy towards universities of the future. These alliances are pioneering the synergies between education and research innovation in terms of policy, but also in terms of program. Because Horizon 2020 complemented Erasmus+. The new call for alliances from Erasmus has been launched today. You may have seen it. So the first generation of alliances in the pilot, 17, will have an opportunity to get an extension. It will be the same for the others. And there is an opportunity for new alliances. There is also an opportunity for institutions who are not yet part of it to join existing alliances. And additional money is available for that. So I invite you to have a look at the Erasmus call on the funding and tenders opportunities portal. So by exchanging talents from all over the world, the alliances are building strong bridges with partner countries across the globe as well as within Europe. They are experimenting with sharing resources, sharing infrastructures and capacities. They are strengthening their capacity to collaborate with other actors in the local ecosystem, like businesses, like cities. And all this will be continued in the new call. And also on the side of Horizon Europe, we are preparing for complementary support. That said, let me now turn to the last part of my presentation, Horizon Europe. So I think you're most familiar with Horizon Europe. The program has about 95 billion euro to spend on research, innovation, and support activities in 3 pillars and a horizontal part. One pillar that is designed by science, meaning it's bottom up. Any discipline, including applied sciences, fits here. It's defined by societal challenges and about the needs of innovation and business sector and other social innovation actors. The horizontal part is about strengthening the European research area, empowering, for instance, universities, the policies I just explained. I will now quickly go through some details of the program. Give me signal me if I'm going over time, please. So first, the excellent science. We have European Research Council, Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and the research infrastructures. For your community, I think it's especially relevant to have a look at the MSCA, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. For instance, there is the opportunity here to apply for staff exchanges, where communities of business and institutions can work together, exchange practices, and according to the III approach, international, interdisciplinary, intersectoral. And it's a very decent success rate. It covers any activity. Secondly, pillar 2 is about the more top-down research, replying to global challenges and industrial competitiveness. Here you see the 6 clusters that address the full spectrum of global challenges. This is about collaborative research. Often it is about innovation activities, very close to the market. I urge you to have a look at it and join forces with your actors in local communities, especially SMEs, will need critical mass that you can offer to join these. And we need the SMEs and you for these actions. Half of the budget of Horizon Europe will go to these collaborative research projects with an huge importance on the expected impact. Now, part of this will go to so-called missions and partnerships. Missions is a new feature of Horizon Europe. I'll explain it in a minute. And partnerships is repackaging and simplification of what is already existing, like in the ERA-nets, if you've heard of it, joint undertakings together with business, joint programming initiatives together with countries and so on. The mission area, here you see the mission areas as defined by the European Parliament and the Council. There are 5 of them, and these will be answering today's most pressing societal challenges. Importantly, it will be going beyond activities as research innovation. It will also include citizens in the definition of the problem, as well as in the, creating the solutions. Through missions, which in the end will become a portfolio of projects in several levels of research innovation, will have a very targeted approach. Solve cancer, pediatric cancer, or reduce deaths for pediatric cancer in by that year, for instance. Provide solutions on climate change in very specific areas by that year, 2030, and so on. It's very targeted. And the portfolio of projects, I mean, it will include projects that will be more under knowledge creation, in the transformation into solutions, so innovation actions and so on. This will be a portfolio of projects instead of just one project targeting one problem. Here you see an overview of the partnerships we have today. It's a complex slide, but I wanted to show it to you because it shows the specific areas Pillar 2 will be looking at. There is a lot of technology that needs to be developed still. And part of the money for Horizon Europe will go to this partnership. So what is a partnership? It's actually a collaboration with other entities like funding agencies, like industry, who put money on the table to pursue together certain actions. So, and in some actions, it's the Commission and the member states who have parallel activities. In others, they pool funding. The main line is that there are a lot of opportunities, and I encourage you to have a look at these. It's very applied, extremely applied research. It starts from the impact that is needed. It often starts from the needs of governments and industry, especially industry. Okay. Pillar 3 is Innovative Europe, and it aims at creating market breakthroughs, not knowledge, but making the knowledge work, create value from it, create businesses. And here you see the European Innovation Council, which is also a new feature, the support for innovation ecosystems, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. Particularly interesting on the EIT is the new action that you may have seen this summer, but it is a new call. There is a new call open for early next year that will help higher education institutions of any kind to strengthen their capacity to perform innovation or to increase capacity on entrepreneurship. I would suggest you to have a look at this. It's an interesting action if you aim to strengthen your capacity in that sense. Now, the European Innovation Council will provide funding from idea to investment. There is a Pathfinder for advanced research on emerging technologies. There is the transition activities from proof of concept or lab to business plan. So help with making a business plan. This could be particularly interesting for researchers who plan to set up a startup, for instance. And then we have the Accelerator, and this is to scale up innovations by SMEs. I bet most of the SMEs are not aware of this, and you have good relationship with SMEs, and this could be of both your benefit to check this how this works. So it's also interesting for the institution itself. So participation of universities already happened a lot in the EIC pilot last year and the year before. This is in the Pathfinder. It's especially focusing on deep tech. So researchers in academia can be partners in the Pathfinder. University teams can use the transition fund to turn results in commercial opportunities. University spin-outs can be applicants to the Accelerator, and so on. Okay, finally, we have the horizontal part, widening participation and strengthening the European research area. This is the part that is particularly supporting the realization of the ERA, the policy I explained earlier. We have a few activities organized along the structure of the ERA. I give a few examples of topics that could be interested. They are targeting ecosystems, higher education institutions, and other research performing organizations and talents, careers. Now, we are funding, or we are in the evaluation stage of funding a new action in support of research managers, facilitators of research. So we will select 2 projects here. The evaluations are ongoing. So that call is closed, but it is targeting the entire community of research managers in Europe. So the actions, the projects will actually have to look for training and opportunities for any research manager across. So you should be able to participate. And this action will also, we will have new actions linked to the science management initiative I referred to in the future year, in the years to come. Now, in support of universities, we will have the Excellence Initiative. This Excellence Initiative will support networks or alliances of universities to mainstream excellence in science and in value creation, to create a level of global competitiveness by the cooperation, the inclusive cooperation of strong institutions with weaker institutions, sharing practices, going to a higher level in terms of excellent research, including applied research, in technology transfer capacities, and so on. So this will be a major activity in the work program 23-24. We will have a new action already next year on talents, ERA talents. This will be focusing on the intersectoral mobility, funding short-term exchanges from academia, your institutions, for instance, to business, or the other way around.
Stein,
Yes.
can I just interrupt, and if you could wrap up soon, please?
Yes,
I know.
I think I need 20 more seconds.
Okay.
So we will have acceleration services, which is supporting institutions to make necessary transitions. For instance, if you think of mainstreaming open science practices in your institution, if you think of strengthening research careers, how to do that, we will offer counseling services to do that. And then finally, there will be a new activity already next year, excellence hubs and ERA hubs, to connect and to strengthen local ecosystems. So I invite you to have a look at these. So as you can see, there is funding for research, there is funding for building capacity or strengthening capacity in Horizon Europe. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention. Hope it was useful. I sent the slides to Maite, so you can, you're happy to share it.
Thank you, no, Stein. It was very useful. I mean, so many opportunities coming up, and we in Horizon and Erasmus that, you know, I think we just need a few bid writers in each of our members, and we could do some excellent work. One issue is capacity of applying for the calls, but certainly in EURASHE's point of view, we will spread this across the membership and help them, support them in applying for some of these calls. But we have 2 or 3 questions for you, if you don't mind, before you leave. So one of them is from Robert Loop. I'm not sure where he's from, but he asks you about the new ERA strategy and whether you want to improve existing ecosystems or create new ones, and whether you will do with the skills in Europe or also in partnership with countries outside Europe. So maybe you could answer that one, and then I will ask you the other 2.
Yes, happy to. So we will support both existing ecosystems to grow, as well as fill gaps. There in such regions where ecosystems do not exist yet, or are difficult to start because of the conditions and so on. So we will help member states by launching mutual learning exercises to do it themselves. We will help local ecosystems and local actors like yourselves to build it. So there are several actions underway to do that. It will take time, but yes, this is the case. I wanted to react also to what you said about the proposal writers. That's exactly what we intend to do with the Science Management Initiative. So we support network of research managers so that there is learning, best practice exchange, as well as through a specific widening actions support such talents directly. So we hear the need in that respect, and we hope we will be able to help you.
You know, especially I think in the UAS sector, I think these perhaps don't have the same size and sort of support staff departments that traditional universities may have. So some intervention, whether it's at European level or a regional, national level, to build those capacities is I think most needed. So a second question is from Dimitri Korpakis, your former colleague, and it's about the axes that you presented in one of the first slides, I think. Are they, well, actually, maybe they're not axes. He asks whether they are axes, actions, or broad policy objectives.
The
slide with the 20, the ones which weren't numbered correctly.
Yes, so this is the ERA policy agenda, and these are actually actions. Concrete actions with very concrete deliverables. Have a look at the annex to the council conclusions adopted last Friday. So this is the list of actions I'm referring to. And yes, they are very concrete actions that imply that member states need to invest in it, and the Commission to invest in it. So these are agreed between the member states and the Commission. And now next year, we invite, or the Council invites the member states to commit to these.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And finally, got some questions from Michael, who deserves to ask several questions because he was the one who started organizing this. Thank you, Michael. And so he says that the debate about engagement of non-EU members, so we're talking here about the UK and Switzerland, it's difficult not to recognise their capacity. So what is the view now on this? Have you got any latest information? And secondly, on the stakeholder engagement in ERA governance, what is your view on that? And in Bologna process, for example, it was very beneficial.
Okay, there are actually two questions. The association of UK to Horizon Europe is still under negotiation. It's not a done deal at all. There are many hiccups. And of course, the Commission fully recognizes the high standards and capacity of UK colleagues in terms of research. So we hope it can be concluded. But there are a lot of factors that on which the association depends. Now, regarding the Bologna, I presume, Michael, you refer to the discussion to involve other Bologna countries than the Erasmus associated countries to the European Universities Initiative, because this was a discussion we had before. And in the new call, I can confirm the call that opened today, it is open to Bologna countries, so to be associated. to the new European university alliances or the existing alliances in case of. So I hope this replies your question.
It does. I think so. Good. And the last one is from Patricia O'Sullivan, a link to what we were talking before, actually. She's thanking you for the presentation, which she finds extremely informative and interesting. And she wonders, though, whether HEIs who are at the beginning of the process of building capacity, research capacity, including private higher education institutions, is there any funding support to build that capacity?
I must say I don't understand the question. Apologies.
I think it's meaning maybe HEIs who don't have the same capacity. I mean, I think it refers also to what we're talking about in terms of support staff, the bid writing. You've mentioned the science
management initiative, yes.
So that could be one of them. But any other initiatives in terms of building, funding sort of development of research in institutions that haven't in the past been research active?
Okay, thank you for that question. So indeed, the networks for research managers, we will have more of these training initiatives in the coming years. The new ERA Talents action is focusing not only on, is proposed to focus also on the non-research profiles that are important to research. Any type of facilitator, for instance, intermediary staff that works in between companies and the institution and so on. And of course, you have under the widening also teaming and twinning that is also where it is also possible to recruit or support staff, management staff, not only research or innovation profiles. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. So thank you again, Stan, for being with us. It was a really useful, fantastic overview of all that's going on here in Brussels. And I hope we can rely on you for some future support to our community practice.
Sure. And I hope we can count on you when we are developing the policies in support of universities. So because we need organizations like EURASHE.
And we will.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to introduce Armando Pires. Armando is the president of EURASHE since May, as many of you, if you're members joining in, will know. He's also the international coordinator at the Portuguese Polytechnic Coordinating Council and professor of engineering at the Polytechnic Institute of Setúbal in Portugal. So Armando is going to give us an overview of the EURASHE priorities and research from his perspective, and the floor is yours, Armando.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here and knowing that we have more than 100 participants. So it's amazing, I should say, and particularly because we had some actions, some activities in the past regarding research, and we never mobilized so many people. So thank you all for being here with us. I will share with you a PowerPoint. So I will try to share my screen. Here we are. Presentation mode. Okay. So my intervention that will be short, about 15 minutes. I will talk about the EURASHE research related on the priorities policies, and I will divide this presentation in 3 parts. So the first one will be dedicated to the priorities and policies. So I will say to you, and I'm saying to you that we are reviewing our strategy, our strategic plan. But I think I will disappoint you on this because we are still discussing this subject. I will present to you, well, not the conclusions because we are discussing, but I will talk more about the process that we are using to review our strategic plan. The second part will be devoted to the HERA hubs. We heard about it. Stein already mentioned. So it is important for us. And we have with us also Mikkel Karpiček, the previous Secretary General. And Mikkel worked a lot on this issue. Also, Thomas, of course, that will speak after me. And finally, the third part I will address also an output that we have and is related with the UAS for Europe, which is an association that we are members of. And well, this is basically will be my presentation. So nowadays we have a strategic plan, a strategic framework, as you can see in my with this slide. It will end next year, and you can see on this green circle that, of course, when we talk about strategy in EURASHE, we need to include, and we include for the not not since the beginning, but from the last years, we include the research and the innovation subjects. So research and innovation, and particularly applied research, that means that has a special meaning to us, is also and will be included in the new strategic framework. And as I said to you, it is under construction. So we started with a different approach. So discussing it trying to have a bottom-up strategy, trying to involve all the members, not only the members of the board that are all involved, so the 10 members of the board, but also the members of EURASHE. And we had some very interesting and useful contributions for many members. We established like a task force for having this strategic plan, and you can see the timeline at the bottom of the screen, and you see that we had the kickoff on the 20th of October, and we will have an important deadline for the operating grant. So we need to have some outputs for the operating grant, and we are having it. Tomorrow we will have a board meeting where this issue will be discussed because we have some very and significant inputs. And at the spring 2022, so next spring, we will the General Assembly will adopt our strategy. We have a subgroup in this task force that is dedicated to applied research and innovation. And we discuss. I also participated in this subgroup, and we discuss important issues, important aspects, priorities, we call it, for EURASHE for these years that are coming. So of course the link with of applied research with the regional business and communities is important, is a priority for us. Also the applied research for and with the students, and with the previous presentation we saw, and it was mentioned, the important link between education and research. And of course, for us, it's also important, and we are addressing it, and this is a priority. And also aspects related with the staff research competences and the impact also in the research careers. So these are some of the aspects that will be addressed and well-known very soon, and will be and are priorities for us, as I said. Coming to the second point about the EURASHE, I have here a picture from the communication of the European Commission, so from last year. And there is, Stan also spoke about this, of course, but I highlight here the vision of this communication. So the vision is to have a stronger European research area for the future. And when we look at the strategic objectives, we see that the number 3, translating research and innovation results into the economy, is very, very important for our institutions. I also took from the document this sentence, where we see that the EURASHE are mentioned, and we can see that there is an important message also, that with this initiative of the EURASHE, the Commission does not intend to create new institutions, to have new structures. So it is about having the existing ones, but of course with the participation, and we hope with the important participation of our institutions, particularly the universities of applied sciences. After that document, we also had appeared also a document from Technopolis, and it was a briefing note. It was in July 2021, so last July, and they asked for consultation. So they asked for the participation of the partners to address this document related with the communication, and of course, once again, about the EURASHE concept. And we did it. We at EURASHE built a task force for it, and Mikkel at that time was the leader of the process in EURASHE. We had involved around 10 people, including colleagues from the Committee for Strategic Advice of EURASHE. Also, Thomas Berger was involved, and we produced a document. So the document was Universities of Applied Sciences Original Hubs, and I don't have time to go through all the document, but I will highlight the conclusions, and we have mainly 3 parts regarding conclusions, and I should highlight particularly the last one, where we stress that the UASs and other PhD institutions or PhD providers can contribute much to the proposed initiative, as I'm reading now, thanks to their already active role as connecting the world of work, governance, administrative bodies, and civil society, and at the regional level, as we know. This is important, I think, as an input from our side to this document. I believe that we will have a kind of pilot call on EURASHE next year, and it is linked with Horizon Europe. And I also think that we will have the opportunity to discuss with the Technopolis to discuss our inputs and to discuss the final document that will support these important initiatives. So as you can also see in the screen, EURASHE is of course ready to continue the dialogue with the Commission and other stakeholders to help shaping this initiative, because we believe that it provides the highest value to European citizens. Finally, last part. EURASHE are involved with the UAS for Europe, so another association with some more associations of University of Applied Sciences, and we produced a document that was presented to the Commissioner Maria Gabriel last October, and it is about Innovation Action Plan for Europe. Well, I don't think I have time to go once again through the document. Would be impossible with only 50 minutes, but even to go to the recommendations, because this document has 12 recommendations to the Commission. It was given to the Commission, as I said, and addressing this Innovation Action Plan for Europe. And well, I put them here, the 12. I don't have time to go through, but I would highlight that we are aware of the main important issues, and particularly the importance that the UASs, the Universities of Applied Sciences, the crucial role that these institutions, our institutions, can play in this innovation action, or even the European innovation area. So the recommendations are there. You can have this document. I think it is on the website of the UAS for Europe. If not, of course, EURASHE can provide you with this. And I should say that you also find on that document some very good examples of what we are doing. Our institutions, the UASs all over Europe are doing regarding research and knowledge transfer and innovation. So it is, I strongly recommend that you consult this document. And well, I think I do not have time to continue. Oh, is Marta now? Hi, Marta.
Hello.
Hello. I don't know if I'm on my time now. So time to finish, maybe.
Yes, since we were 10 minutes late, yes, it would be great if you could.
Okay, so it's my job also. So thank you for listening. Of course, I will be here and I will say some words at the end of this webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Armando, for this overview and this update of EURASHE's approach to research and innovation. And as John mentioned previously, my name is Marta Rodrigues, Policy and Project Officer at EURASHE, and I will take over the moderation of the event from now on. I'm pleased to move now to the presentation from Thomas Berg, working for the EU Staff Unit, Hessian Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and the Arts. And Thomas will provide an overview of the Hessen Horizon program. It's a EU research support program offered by the state of Hessen to support universities and research organizations to further engage and participate in European research funding programs. The floor is yours, Thomas.
Okay, thanks Marta for the introduction and good afternoon to everybody. I'm very glad to see this EURASHE research community of practice materializing, and thanks again for helping with that to the whole EURASHE team, including of course also Michal Kapicek, who is among us. Yes, just a few words about myself. Yes, today I have the chance to represent the Hessen Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and the Arts. However, let me say that until 2020, I have been the EU liaison officer of the University Fulda. And indeed, I will return to University Fulda next year after the end of my secondment, which happens this year. So I'm seconded from the university to the ministry to help implementing the Hessen Horizon program, which I will present. And we are happy to present this Hessen and Fulda case to help kicking off this EURASHE research community of practice. So we hope that it will turn into a mutual learning experience. So before I start, just one more info about the next speaker. As outlined in the agenda, my Fulda colleague Victoria Beinroth was scheduled to present today. Of course, I use this opportunity to wish a very good and fast recovery to her, and I'm glad that Hendro, who has just joined our Fulda team very recently, stepped in for Victoria to present the Fulda University perspective. Anyway, I will help later on and join Hendro, as I said, as I was involved in with Fulda for many years, and I will return next year. So I think I am in a unique position to present or represent actually both perspectives, the ministry and the university perspective, who is affected by what the ministry is doing. So you will see and hear myself a bit later when I'm then joining Hendro for the Fulda case. But now let me just share a few slides about the Hessen Horizon program. So I hope it is visible. And yeah, good. Well, then let me start. Yes, as a starting point, why Hessen has in the state of Hessen, the program was created to help engagement of universities with European programs. Yes, of course, it's a general policy priority to see that for a post-pandemic development, research and innovation is, of course, a key for development. And the sectors or the examples of areas I mentioned there, like climate protection and digital transformation, are no coincidence, because of course these are sectors which require transnational cooperation, and that's why it's also a priority of the ministry to see how can this international cooperation, participation in European programs can be increased and can be even more established among universities. This includes traditional universities and University of Applied Sciences in the state of Hessen, one of the regions or Länder in Germany. Of course, I also mentioned that it has a monetary background, which has to do with the net contributions of Hessen or Germany to the Horizon Europe and other European programs. And of course, there is this motivation as well to encourage universities and other actors in the state to participate in those programs. Well, the overall objective is to see how can universities in Hessen participate even more successfully. Of course, as the state of Hessen is comparing itself with other states in Germany and sees here for universities of the regions still some room for improvement, and was thinking how can we best support this process. And mentioning again the international dimension of internationalization, Hessen should be attractive or becoming even more attractive for international researchers, for example, for postdocs participating in the Marie Skłodowska-Curie action, especially this for individual exchanges. So that's a little bit setting the scene, the background, why the state of Hessen created a program, a support program to help universities in those areas. And the whole Hessen Horizon program consists of 4 pillars or 4 areas, 4 sub-programs if you want. There's a fast start funding program for the universities to prepare EU research projects. That's the one I will present a bit more in the coming slides. However, there are 3 other ones which are part of the program. There is a similar fund for research organizations in the state of Hessen, so non-university research institutions. There is the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Hessen Fellowship, which makes use of the Seal of Excellence, which is provided to applicants of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions who have an excellent proposal, but cannot be funded due to the lack of available funds on European level. So that you can say if an applicant, a university or research organization in Hessen applies for these Marie Skłodowska-Curie individual fellowships and is not funded by the European Commission, but receives the Seal of Excellence, there is, if you want, a second chance within the state of Hessen to get this fellowship by this Marie Skłodowska-Curie Hessen Fellowship, which has very similar conditions, funding conditions, as the Marie Skłodowska, original Marie Skłodowska-Curie action by the European Union. And there's a smaller networking fund connected with the representation of the state of Hessen to the EU in Brussels for events and activities in Brussels of actors in Hessen. I will now focus on the one which is, of course, of utmost relevance also of Fulda University among all the other universities. This is this startup of fast start funding for participation in EU programs. And it all started in 2020 when the ministry published, if you want, a call for EU research support strategies. That means for a document presented by universities outlining how they want to develop towards the participation in European programs in the next years. What kind of strategies are in place, how this is in line with general university development plans, but also what kind of concrete activities could help the university to develop in this area. This includes also a SWOT analysis of strengths and weaknesses in the past years regarding the participation in EU programs, but also, of course, opportunities or potential threats to an increasing participation in EU programs. And based on draft concepts presented by the end of 2020 of universities, the State Secretary of the Ministry entered in a dialogue with universities represented usually by a Vice President of Research and Transfer and by an EU liaison officer in a tandem, if you want. And yes, part of this dialogue was a further development of those research support strategies, and then a concrete proposal how to implement this strategy in 2021, which the ministry allowed a support in the case of University of Applied Sciences of a maximum of 75,000 euros for all kinds of activities which help to implement this EU research support strategy. For traditional universities, there was a higher amount, but for the sector, us and for Fulda, this was the ceiling which was relevant and given. Sorry, I was just a bit too fast. Yeah, no, it was exactly. So these were so we had this dialogue between ministry and universities based on a strategy concept. And now I just give a few examples what could be concrete actions proposed in 2021, but also in following years in order to implement the strategies developed. And among those, just to give those examples, is for example, providing seed funding for preparation of EU research proposals, seed funding to applicants of the university with a few thousand euro, helping to reduce teaching load or to recruit assistants or to do other activities to initiate proposal development or to continue with the proposal development. Then other activities which are part of the strategy could be especially funds to reduce the teaching load or to cover reduction of teaching load, especially something which prevents at University of Applied Sciences a number of researchers, professors to engage more deeply with European programs, which tend to be a bit more time-consuming than engaging in local or national funding programs. I mentioned already that yes, there was a possibility to use student assistance, but also to invest in translation and proofreading, in coachings of applicants, all those kinds of activities. And another important aspect, of course, is the development of the EU research support infrastructure to see how can we, depending also on the size of the university, but to see if we have a support team or a support person to help potential applicants with the process, but also to see how is the process in the universities, the contact with personnel department, finances department, to facilitate as much as possible, not only the proposal development, budget development and such issues, but also if a university is successful, the project management with all the requirements for those involved in European programs, you know what I'm speaking about, with all the requirements given by EU programs. And other activities included networking activities. For example, one university implemented a Marie Skłodowska-Curie masterclass to attract international postdocs and to connect and match international postdocs with professors of the universities. And other activities might include the increase of international visibility by the internet websites, by media channels, social media channels, activities which raise the profile, the awareness of what universities are doing and how they could attract researchers and partners from abroad. Yeah, these are just examples how such a strategy could be implemented. And this was just meant as an introduction, and then in the following we will show how the University of Applied Sciences Fulda actually reacted to this call given by the ministry in our state and region. And for this purpose, I will hand over to my colleague from Fulda, to Hendro, who will now show, okay, what is the other side of this program in the state and how we in Fulda reacted to it.
Thank you, Thomas. Then, Marta, can I start my presentation then?
Sure, you can. I just wanted to briefly introduce you. So Endro is working for the EU Research Management and International Relations at Fulda University of Applied Sciences. As Thomas said, he's going to present the strategy Fulda Horizon.
Thank you. Yeah. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So yes, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Marta. Yes, I would like to present the Fulda Horizon strategy concept. This is a response to the call of the Hessian Ministry for Higher Education, Research, Science, and the Art regarding the EU research support strategy in the framework of Hessian Horizon program. So for those of you who are not familiar with Fulda, so Fulda is situated in the middle of Germany, and if I may say, it is at the heart of Europe. The university was established in 1974. We currently have 9,700 students. We are 1,400 of them are international students coming from more than 110 countries. We also have 170 professors, and we are supported by 375 academic, research, and administrative staff members. The university has been growing significantly in the last years, and we currently have 8 faculties. And what is also interesting from Fulda is that the university has been granted the individual rights to conduct doctoral degrees and doctoral studies, and to give the award of doctoral degrees under 4 PhD center. And Fulda is the first University of Applied Sciences in Germany that is granted this right. So moving forward, the university is supporting the implementation of the European education area and European research area. And we are also following the transformation of European knowledge triangle to knowledge square. That's basically does not only focus on education and research and innovation, but also we are obliged to provide services to the society. And we also recognize that mobility is very important, especially when we discuss about the internationalizing teaching process and research. And we also agree that transferring knowledge and research into applicable solution is also key, especially in Europe, such as the green and digital transition of the EU economy. And we are committed to develop and to create research, science, technology that bring benefits to the society. And we ensure that the research proposal coming from Fulda sent to the EU or the EU funded programs will also include not only scientific impacts, but also ecological and socio-economic impacts. So what is Fulda Horizon? So Fulda Horizon is basically an interface between the transfer strategy towards innovative university and the strategy to strengthen the capacity and capability of the universities in the state of Hessen. And it consists of 4 sections. First, the mandate to the university that we support the development of higher education, research, innovation, and transfer. And at the same time, we are also obliged and we are committed to create impactful activities in the society. Yeah, and the second one is to create the link between internationalization of research and transfer and local service to the society. Meaning, when we discuss about internationalization, it is not about being isolated, but Fulda have strengthened the collaborations and with multi-actors outside the university and within the university. We are working on the cross-sectoral aspects in all fields. So basically, the objective is to bring the international impacts of the university to the regions of Hessen. So to be able to do this, of course, we are connected with the other stakeholders in the region, and yeah, be it with public institution, be it with industry, be it with companies, be it with small medium enterprises as well. So at the same time, we also play a role as a intermediary to bring the EU policies and programs closer to the people. We have activities that facilitate this process, and it will be later on explained by Thomas. And the third aspect is that the focus of Hessen Horizon program. So we support academia to participate in the EU funded programs, especially Horizon Europe, as mentioned by Thomas. And what we do is basically to provide the relevant information to find potential partners for the interested professors, researchers, and also to guide them in preparing the application. And we also ensure that the requirements of scientific, socio-economic, and ecological impacts are incorporated in the proposals. Yeah, and at the same time, we also would like to increase the number of international researchers in the university and also in Hessen. So we are working on improving the working conditions for researchers, for international researchers, such as by conducting transparent recruitment process and also to simplify the bureaucratic procedures. And the last section is the university development plan. It among others, cover the expansion of university network at regional level, at national level, and at EU level. So in this regard, the university has joined the European University Association for University of Applied Sciences, and also the German University Consortium for International Cooperation. And of course, we have joined the EURASHE network. And since Fulda would like to be innovative university, we are trying to link up researchers, innovations with practical aspects such as ideas, knowledge, and technologies by conducting regular discussions with public institutions, with the industries, with the companies, with the small medium enterprises and the civil society. Yeah. So to provide you a comprehensive insight what we have been doing so far, I would like to invite Thomas again to continue the presentation, but also to give more detailed information to the participants. Please, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Hendro. Yeah,
yeah.
What Hendro presented so far was, the general concept of this Fulda Horizon EU research support strategy, which should not be an isolated document, but the objective was to interlink it as closely as possible, of course, with the mission of a University of Applied Sciences to be practical oriented, to interact with the regional stakeholders, to connect it with the general university development plan with these strategies for internationalization, strategies for the further development of the universities. Of course, we are all embedded in the framework of the Hessen Horizon program, as this is a reaction to what the state of Hessen presented and invited a university to do. And the aspect that for us it's important to cover this, what now it's often called the knowledge square of research, education, transfer, but also interaction with society or service to society, which is a part of the third mission of the university, and to connect that to the internationalization activities. Now, I will just give a few more examples, more concrete examples, how this translates in concrete objectives and activities in order to implement this Fulda Horizon concept. I mean, the ultimate goal, as I mentioned already, is, of course, to increase the participation in the Horizon Europe program. I mean, we are still, I think we have just one or two projects in Horizon 2020, and of course there are a number of barriers for especially smaller and University of Applied Sciences to participate in this highly competitive program. So indeed, what we do aims, of course, in the mid and long term to be more represented in this program. One little success, I mean, not success yet, but one little step towards this goal we could implement, or we implemented this year with our first participation in the Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowship program. I mean, this was the first time that the University of Applied Sciences Fulda participated with a proposal, because it was in the past extremely difficult to motivate professors and international postdocs to participate in this program because of the very low success rate. It's very competitive, with the success rate well below 10%. And actually, it was the help of the Hessen Horizon Marie Skłodowska-Curie Hessen Fellowship, which in the end gave us the drive to participate, because we could say, even if you are not funded by the call this year, I mean, the call was closed in October. If you receive a seal of excellence, which we will know in spring next year, there is a chance to be funded by the Hessen program. I think that was already something where we could benefit from the program and from the concept we developed. We are also aware that we might not go straight through the Horizon Europe programs, but there might be steps before that, and smaller projects, smaller programs can actually help with that. There could be projects of the Creative Europe program, or the Erasmus Plus program, or a networks context we have established in the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program, which in the end could create smaller project results, contacts, which in a mid or long-term perspective might also contribute to a deeper more intensive participation in the Horizon Europe program. Next slide. Yes. Some of you might be aware that we have a quite complex landscape in Germany with the Länder, with the regions being in charge or responsible for higher education and culture. But of course, we also have a national level and a National Ministry of Research and Education, which also implements programs supporting University of Applied Sciences. Two of those programs are relevant for us in Fulda, especially relevant for us in Fulda. There's a general program supporting University of Applied Sciences participating in Horizon Europe on a long-term basis. So if you are planning long-term, you can benefit from a grant, from the national grant, helping you to prepare such a proposal. However, this national program is also very competitive. So there is a lot of demand from US in Germany and of course, only a limited budget available. But nevertheless, there's this additional activity. And of course, our goal is to create synergies or to best create a puzzle of Hessen Horizon, Fulda Horizon, the national program, and EU activities and support, which we heard earlier today. And Hendro mentioned already, there is also a very strong program called Innovative Universities, dedicated exclusively to University of Applied Sciences and smaller and middle range, mid-sized universities in Germany, which gives a very good grant, and I think is a very good support, especially for the transfer and third mission of universities. So the university was successful to 5 years ago to get a 10 million grant to establish a regional innovation center for health and well-being, and to develop a lot of activities with regional stakeholders to transfer research results or to co-create research results in this sector. So next slide, please. Yes, so this is the REGAL, the Regional Innovation Center. So if you want the regional dimension, I need to mention that the program so far, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, is completely regional oriented. So there is not a European dimension yet in this program, but of course we see the strong interaction of the universities with the help of this program with the region. And our objective in Fulda Horizon is to see how can we link that, how can we link those contacts, those expertise to potential European project developments, because it's a resource and which could be contributed to consortia. There's another aspect which maybe makes it more, even more transparent, how we foresee this combination of regional and international dimension. And this is part of the Fulda Horizon concept to say, yes, we want to establish our university as a strong regional actor, as somebody who is also interacting with society. And applying for Europe Direct Center was part of this. And this is what we did last year, and indeed we got we were successful in with the proposal and had the chance this year to establish a European Direct Center. And you might wonder, what can such an information and action office presenting European policies and European programs to a region, to citizens, to schools, to really the general public, what could that help with research and innovation activities? And I will give you a few examples why this is helping us and reflecting our strategic concept. Maybe I can say that we are actually the only university in Germany which is hosting a Europe Direct Center. So there are I think more than 400 centers in Europe and 48 in Germany. But yes, indeed, we are so far the only university doing it. And I will just explain in a few words why we invested in that. So next slide, please. Yes, you see myself here at the opening of the Europe Direct Center, which actually took place in the middle of the market square in Fulda, with my colleague, head of research and transfer of the university, and with the mayor of the city of Fulda. And this center allowed us, for example, to help the city and the region to apply for the European Cultural Heritage label, which is part of the Creative Europe program. Again, this is not yet connected to research and science, but we invested in that activity, knowing that the university is strong, for example, in the European studies, in European policy area. We have a Jean Monnet chair. There we have a scientific center for intercultural communication and European studies. So we see the potential connecting activities on European policy issues with very hands-on regional outreach activities, which is part of the objective of a Europe Direct centers, and helping with providing contact with doing events to support this, for example, this application for a European Cultural Heritage label, which is, by the way, just as a side note, if I want to summarize the long application in one sentence, is that in the very early Middle Ages, Fulda, indeed, the monastery of Fulda, could be seen as an important starting point for the European education area, which we heard today, because indeed the monastery and Fulda created a network with other monasteries in these early Middle Ages, and created one of the most important libraries of these, let's say, early Middle Ages. And we're speaking about 800, 900, and we speak about the empire of Charlemagne or Charles the Great. But just as a side note, I will not have the time to go into detail. Just allow me this little promotion of Fulda here, because this decision is still ongoing, and we will know only next year if the Cultural Heritage label will be provided to Fulda, and which might lead to other activities in the Creative Europe program. So we connected actors, or the museums, actors from schools, with the Jean Monnet chair, and we are working towards a joint project proposal within the Creative Europe program, for example, which is dedicating to collaborative writing about European issues. So I won't go in detail here, but I would just want to say that this regional engagement does not exclude, in the contrary, it can promote internationalization and international networking as well. Just one more example, the Chamber of Commerce of Fulda is planning a delegation journey with representatives of the business world of Fulda to the next cultural capital in Luxembourg next year. And so we could make use of the Europe Direct network and contacted a Europe Direct Center in Luxembourg, helping us to establish contacts to facilitate this delegation journey, allowing Fulda to inform about the impacts of cultural capital to regional development. Yes, again, this is helping us to strengthen our contact, for example, to the Chamber of Commerce as an important regional stakeholder, which again helps us when we might need the Chamber of Commerce in our activities for the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program, or for other activities where we need access to local stakeholders. So these are just examples showing or trying to demonstrate that you can actually have both. You can have strong regional outreach, but at the same time support your internationalization strategy for research and development, and how both activities could help each other. At least this is what we foresee and have started with our Fulda Horizon approach. Finally, let me just come back to the community of practice which is actually our goal for today, what we want to help initiate. And let me shortly explain what at least we, from our perspective, would see as the objective of such a EURASHE community of practice in research. Of course, we would like to engage with you to see how we can develop the UIS sector. I mean, we just presented one example to be more successful in European programs, especially Horizon Europe, but also others. And what kind of support can we provide from university administration, from the university government, to researchers at University of Applied Sciences to be successful in that area. And we foresee it as on a working level, mutual learning, and also maybe a potential matchmaking activity when it comes to participating in EU proposals. And this could also include these more horizontal proposals mentioned earlier, for example, in the context on the European research area, ERA hubs or others. So that is one aspect. And of course, I think it's also a motivation from us that such a community of practice could help to get to know even better the individual members of EURASHE. I mean, Fulda University have only joined EURASHE relatively recently, so it could be a good opportunity to get in touch with individual universities as part of the membership, but of course also with the individual colleagues dealing with those issues. Okay, yeah. What could be the format? Well, what we propose, but of course is a subject of discussion, is that we start with a workshop in Fulda. If you want to learn more about that, what I presented quickly today, together with Hendro. And but of course, this should only be a kickoff of something which could be run on a 6 or 12, also once or twice a year on workshop, which then should be hosted by participants of the community of practice, so that we rotate among the countries and represented by EURASHE, and learning a bit more about the individual contexts and also the approaches to those issues we have just presented. So the idea would be, of course, to have this setting and a good exchange among each other, to have a limited number of participants. I believe something like this, which can most probably only take place face to face, as nothing can replace this close contact, I feel. And today, this online format should only be seen as a starting point for this. And of course, the format would be that we have arrivals the day before of this workshop, and to have a bit more informal gathering, and then have the workshops the day after, so that everybody can depart the same day in the afternoon or evening. Originally, we have foreseen in April to start with the first workshop in Fulda. Now, unfortunately, the Corona situation is developing in a way with new variants and new lockdowns approaching that we don't see it realistic, to be honest, anymore, that in early April we will be all able to travel internationally and meet, so that we most probably see it realistically in late spring or in summer, for example, in June or September 2022, to make it happen. Yes, but what we would need and what we would like from your side is, we could start today, but of course you will have the chance in a follow-up questionnaire, which will be sent by the EURASHE team, is of course, we would like to know what would you like to contribute to such a community of practice, but of course, what also you would like to expect from other participants to contribute. I try to present the perspective we have on that, but of course, we would be very curious to know your perspectives and how you would like or would see such a community of practice within the EURASHE network. Okay, yes, that's for the moment, and I hope I was not too fast speaking, but please feel free to ask. We still have some time left for questions.
Yes, thank you both Thomas and Andrew for this presentation. Now there is room for addressing the questions that we have in the Q&A section. So we have a question that is, would you add or underline any advice on how to better engage with partners and stakeholders?
Well, yes, what I try to show is that actually it's one of the most important objectives is the engagement with stakeholders, and of course it's always a give and take. I mean, this regional engagement by purpose presented this Europe Direct Center, which is something where you would say, what has this to do with research and innovation? So it's let's say we provide something to the local community, to schools, to citizens, to stakeholders, representing in that case European programs providing information and teaching material, etc. So bringing extra service to stakeholders by using then in return the contacts established and also, to be honest, the inside knowledge of what is going on in the region, to reconnect that to project developments. In that case, for example, of the John Monnet Chair, with further research projects or creative projects, in that case, in the European area. So I think it's this give and take, or what I said with the Chamber of Commerce. We helping the Chamber of Commerce with their international mission to learn more about cultural capitals, European cultural capitals in Europe, and of course this is creating contacts and links with the Chamber of Commerce, which could help us then when we need them for other purposes. To be honest, I'm working in Fulda now, in Wiesbaden for this year, but normally working in Fulda for more than 20 years. But only through Europe Direct, I had my first one-to-one appointment with the city mayor. I mean, there were not so many opportunities, but I mean, and now, you know, building on that is something which can help. And I just, I mean, I was inspired for this Fulda Horizon concept also of a study of the German Academic Exchange Service called Internationalization for Society. And you rediscovered probably the term of this study in the concept, where they underlined that third mission, regional outreach, is for the moment, at least in many European universities and also in Germany, often seen in parallel to the internationalization and developments. And at least it's also in the case in Fulda, for example, where this regional innovation center at the moment is not as much interlinked with our European liaison office as we would ideally wish. So to bring regional transfer together with internationalization strategies, I believe could be a very interesting way forward, and especially for University of Applied Sciences, who are especially close to region and to regional stakeholders.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. We have more questions in the Q&A. So, do you find training courses relevant for enhancing researchers' capacity?
Well, to be honest, in Fulda, we started some years ago providing information events and newsletters and all this, and partly we have actually stopped that activity because we have seen that we have not a big amount of researchers really already being prepared to go on a European scale. So we see the individual support, that individuals who are approaching us or who we approach because we see potential is in our case much more effective than offering a general training course. However, to train PhDs, postdocs, etc., with skills, how to create a research proposal, how to participate in European programs, that of course can be useful. But we, rather than providing general events and trainings, we actually focus on individual proposal applicants and see how can we best support these individual process, to, helping them to make use of regional funds, Hessen Horizon, national funds in the preparation, or then of course helping them with the EU research proposal. So, but of course this depends on a regional situation, but at least from my perspective, I can say the approaching individuals is at least at the moment our main concept, also looking at how can we best use the resources we have available.
Thanks once again, Thomas. I think this next question is pretty much related with the one that you just addressed. That is, how can universities of applied sciences and its researchers enhance their capacity, internal capacity for accessing EU funding opportunities?
Yeah. Well, I partly covered that I mean, it depends a little bit on your ecosystem. I mean, I can say now with the activity of on Hessen level or on regional level with the national programs, there is quite a good support scheme, at least available in Germany. I don't know exactly about the situation in other countries, but I mean, I see the biggest barrier is sometimes the success on regional national level, that researchers, professors just have not the capacity to go even on a European level if they are already very engaged on regional and national level. Of course, we have the aspect of the teaching load, which also limits the availability for international activities. But I would say, rather than going for mass, I come back to see we need to select or to identify. That's what I'm looking for. To identify the individuals where we see there is some interest, there is potential, and then how can we best focus all resources we have on those individuals to allowing them to be successful in European programs. Yeah, that's and these might sometimes be also new professors just entering the university, coming from at least the University of Applied Sciences. You have already often professors who have a business background, who might be participated in European projects from that perspective. And so after a few months of establishment in the university, and sometimes those bring also a fresh perspective and can be the ones which I would say have a high potential for European programs.
Thank you for this clear answer once again, Thomas. And since we don't have more questions, I would like to thank the participants who added their views and good practices in the chat, and they supported also the idea from Thomas that is primordial to invest in low-hanging fruits, and most important, to raise the visibility of our University of Applied Sciences.
Exactly, yeah.
Research, sorry. And also the interest from Lorna Walsh to set up a team Zoom discussion on this area. So I think participants are very much interested in continuing these discussions, which is really interesting. So in case you don't have more questions, I don't see more questions in the chat, neither in the Q&A section. So if you want to say something just to conclude this part, if not, I can hand over to Armando.
Well, just I would looking forward to input and to see, and I would really love to see such a working community of practice developing, where we exchange openly on those issues. But yes, Armando, please.
Thanks a lot. So please, Armando.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marta. Well, I think it was, in my opinion, and I hope in yours opinion, it was really interesting, this event. So this webinar, I was thinking during these last words of Thomas, well, it will be great, and of course we need to be face to face. It will be great to be in visiting full, of course, but at the same time we will be limited with the number of participants, because if we look at now we have almost 80 participants, which would be impossible to have all of us physically. So we need to think, of course, keeping the idea of the physical meetings are absolutely crucial, but maybe thinking about some kind of hybrid events where we can enlarge the participation at the same time. For some of the participants would be possible to be face to face and to be in direct contact with the institutions, with the regions, with the visiting the facilities, which is always important. Of course, I wanna thank all the speakers, particularly the Stein Delore that he had to leave after the presentation, but it was important to have this vision from the information, the important information from the Commission, with that overview, particularly addressing, of course, always research and the innovation, but particularly addressing the programs and the Horizon Europe program. And of course, also Thomas and Andrew, for your very inspiring experience and this important connection that we are looking forward always between the regions and the institutions, the higher education institutions. And I'm talking particularly about the universities of applied sciences and other PhD providers. Of course, this link with the regions and the example that you presented to us is really inspiring. And well, and it is, I would like to highlight the important support that the Essen region is given to the higher education institutions, particularly to full the UAS. In so many ways, and one that you mentioned, Thomas, was for me particularly important, the one that was related with the support for the researchers to have at the same time not so heavy load, teaching load. So this is not usual, as I know, in many other places, but you are doing it, and of course we need to know more about it, and not only about this, of course, but it was and it is very inspiring for many of us. I should risk saying that all of us are really inspired by your words and your experience. Well, this kind of event, this community of practice related with research, it is the first time that we are having it, and with this very inspiring, as I said, contribution. We had some other experiences with different communities of practice, and I think, as it was written in the document that we all received, that of course at EURASHE we intend to keep it, and as Thomas also mentioned, of course, maybe we need to be nowadays of course, we need to be flexible. We need to be dynamic. Unfortunately, the pandemic situation is not getting better. So we need to think about maybe new dates for having the face-to-face event. But we need to do it. So I think when I look at this our event today, the only thing that I can say is we are here to continue, and please you should be connected with us, with EURASHE, of course, because we are working for the members always, and not only having information, but asking you to participate and to contribute to have a better sector, so PhD sector, and of course have a, as I usually say, have a better and more inclusive society. So we need to work together, and please keep in touch. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Marta, for your support.
You're welcome. Thank you, Armando, for your final considerations. I just would like to underline on behalf of EURASHE Secretariat that we really thank your support, both Thomas and Andrew, from EUAS Fulda. And also, I wanted to say that tomorrow morning you are going to receive an evaluation survey of this event that we kindly ask you to fill in. Also, in the coming days, you will also receive the presentations and the recording of this webinar. So we hope to see you in 2022 for our workshop that will be hosted by Fulda University of Applied Sciences, as mentioned. Have a nice afternoon.